Look at me for a moment. Not at the person standing here, but at the truth that brought you into this room tonight. You did not come here because your life is easy. You came because somewhere inside you there is a quiet, stubborn voice that is tired of starting over. A voice that is tired of promising and postponing. A voice that is tired of knowing what must be done and watching the hours disappear anyway. And I want to tell you something gently, but without apology. Discipline is not something you wait for. It is something you decide. We live in a time that teaches us to negotiate with ourselves. We bargain with our own future like it is someone else's responsibility. We say, tomorrow I will be stronger. We say, when life slows down, I will finally focus. We say, when I feel ready, I will begin. But readiness is not a feeling. Readiness is an action. In 2026, the world will not become softer for you. It will not grow quieter. It will not lower its expectations so that your fear can feel comfortable. The world will move faster, speak louder, and demand more of your attention than ever before. So the question is not how to become disciplined. The real question is whether you are willing to stop protecting the version of yourself that keeps escaping responsibility. You do not lack motivation. You lack a moment of honest decision, because deep down you already know what to do. You know which habits are stealing your future. You know which conversations drain your courage. You know which nights turn into excuses. You know which mornings you betray with silence. You do not need another plan. You need a line. A line you draw for yourself. A line you do not cross when comfort calls your name. Discipline is not loud. It does not announce itself with dramatic music or perfect routines. Discipline is small. It is private. It is lonely. It looks like getting up when no one will clap. It looks like stopping when no one is watching. It looks like doing the work long after the excitement has packed its bags and left you alone with effort. We romanticize transformation, but real change is often boring. It is repetition when the mind begs for novelty. It is consistency when the ego wants applause. It is humility when pride demands recognition. You do not force yourself to be disciplined by becoming harder. You force yourself by becoming clearer. Clear about what you are building. Clear about what you are losing. Clear about who pays the price when you delay. Your future does not suffer quietly. It waits patiently, and then it sends you the bill. Every missed workout, every half-finished goal, every postponed dream, every ignored responsibility, every promise made to yourself and broken in private, none of it disappears, it accumulates. And one day, it shows up as regret that no amount of success can erase. So let me speak to you like someone who believes you can carry more than you think. You do not need to force your body. You need to train your loyalty. Loyalty to your own word. Because the most powerful discipline in the world is this simple sentence. I do what I said I would do. Not when I feel inspired. Not when the weather cooperates. Not when people notice. Not when life becomes fair. I do what I said I would do. When you keep your word to others, they call you reliable. When you keep your word to yourself, you become unstoppable. We talk so much about confidence, but confidence is not something you declare. Confidence is something you remember. It is memory. It is the memory of showing up, the memory of finishing, the memory of staying when quitting would have been easier, the memory of surviving your own doubt. Every disciplined action is a quiet deposit into your self, and self-trust is what allows you to walk into rooms you once felt unworthy of. In 2026, discipline will be your greatest advantage. Not technology, not talent, not connections. Because technology can be copied, talent can be outworked, connections can disappear. But the person who can direct their own behavior, even when their emotions argue against them, becomes dangerous to limitation. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. You are not tired because you do too much. You are tired because you carry too many unfinished selves inside you. You are exhausted by the gap between who you say you are becoming and what you practice every day. That gap costs energy. Discipline closes the distance, not in one dramatic leap, but in one honest step, and then another, and then another. We like to wait for discipline to feel natural. It never does at the beginning. In the beginning, discipline feels like loss. You lose comfort. You lose flexibility. You lose the familiar chaos that once protected you from accountability. But what you gain is far heavier than what you lose. You gain control over your direction, and control is not power over others. It is power over your own attention. Your attention is your life. Where you place it is where your future grows. You do not need to organize your entire life tonight. You need to organize the next hour, the next decision, the next small promise. Because discipline does not come from grand ambition. It comes from manageable obedience to the moment in front of you. You want to know how to force yourself. You stop asking your feelings for permission. Feelings are wonderful storytellers. They are terrible leaders. Your feelings will tell you to rest before you have earned rest. They will tell you to escape before you have truly tried. They will tell you that you deserve comfort even when what you really deserve is growth. Discipline is choosing the long reward over the short relief. Again, and again, and again, until your nervous system learns a new language. Until effort stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like identity. Until your body recognizes structure as safety, and your mind recognizes progress as peace. Do not wait for the perfect routine. Perfection is a disguise procrastination wears when it wants to sound intelligent. You do not need perfect timing. You need a non-negotiable. A time you protect, a task you defend, a standard you refuse to lower even when no one else knows. The version of you that will win in 2026 is not more motivated. They are more bound to their schedule than to their moods. They do not debate with resistance. They move while resistance talks. They have learned that hesitation is not wisdom. It is often fear wearing careful language. Let me be very honest with you tonight. You do not lack potential. You lack friction. Your life is too convenient for the future you say you want. Everything is designed to make distraction easy and discipline optional. But greatness has never been comfortable with optional. If you want a different life, you must design a different environment. Put friction between you and your bad habits. Put ease between you and your good ones. Make discipline simpler than regret. Make starting easier than stopping. Make the right choice the obvious one. This is not about punishment. This is about protection. You are protecting your focus. You are protecting your momentum. You are protecting the fragile early stages of the person you are becoming. Because new versions of you are always weak at the beginning. They need structure to survive. Do not expose your dreams to constant negotiation. Structure is not a cage. It is a bridge, and every bridge is built one beam at a time. Let me tell you what disciplined people understand that others overlook. They do not wait to feel proud. They act in ways that create pride later. They do not chase motivation. They build systems that function even when motivation disappears. They do not rely on emotional highs. They rely on identity. They stop saying, "I am trying." They start saying quietly, internally, and then visibly, "This is who I am now. I am someone who finishes. I am someone who shows up. I am someone who trains when it is inconvenient. I am someone who prepares when others relax. I am someone who honors my commitments, especially the private ones." Identity shapes behavior more than goals ever will. So instead of asking, "What should I do?" ask, "Who must I become to make this normal?" And then practice being that person before you feel like them. Discipline is rehearsal. You rehearse the future you want to inhabit. Every early alarm, every resisted urge, every completed task, every honest hour. You are not building results. You are building reflexes. And reflexes do not collapse under pressure. Let me speak to the part of you that is afraid you will fail again. You probably will. But failure is not the enemy of discipline. Inconsistency is. You do not need a perfect record. You need a reliable return. You need the ability to come back without drama, without shame, without self-destruction. Miss a day. Do not miss the identity. Do not turn one mistake into permission to abandon yourself. Discipline is not about being unbreakable. It is about being unashamed to rebuild immediately. Strong people do not punish themselves for slipping. They re-anchor. They recommit. They reset without storytelling. Because stories delay action, and action rewrites stories. You do not rise to your dreams. You descend to your habits. And habits are not formed by inspiration. They are formed by repetition under mild discomfort. So let discomfort become familiar. Let effort become ordinary. Let showing up stop being heroic and start being expected. This is how you force yourself. You remove the emotional drama from responsibility. You stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" And you start asking, "What does my future require from me today?" Your future requires your discipline now, not later now. Not when you are confident. Now, not when circumstances improve. Now, because discipline is not built in perfect seasons. It is forged in ordinary, messy, demanding days. Days like today. Nights like this. Moments like this one, where you either walk away inspired or walk away changed. You do not need a loud promise. You need a quiet contract with yourself. A contract that says, "I will act even when I am uncertain. I will show up even when I am unseen. I will keep moving even when progress is invisible. I will train my behavior before I try to master my emotions. I will choose discipline not because it is easy, but because it makes everything else easier later." In 2026, when people ask you what finally changed, it will not be a miracle. It will not be luck. It will not be a secret. It will be the accumulation of thousands of small, disciplined moments you protected when no one was watching. It will be the version of you who learned that forcing yourself was never about violence against your will. It was about devotion to your future. It was about respect for your potential. It was about finally treating your time, your energy, and your focus as sacred. And if you remember nothing else from this night, remember this one truth. You are not waiting for discipline. Discipline is waiting for you to decide. When you learn to master your mornings, you are not just learning how to wake up earlier. You are learning how to take the first breath of authority over your own life, and that quiet authority changes everything that comes after it. Because the morning is not a time of day. It is a statement. It is the first agreement you make with yourself before the world begins to speak over you. Before messages arrive. Before noise claims your attention. Before other people's urgency tries to replace your intention. Your morning is the only part of the day that still belongs entirely to you. And the way you step into it tells your future how seriously you should be taken. Most people lose their future before breakfast. They surrender the first moments of consciousness to distraction, to delay, to negotiation, to comfort, to scrolling, to drifting, to the soft lie that there is plenty of time later. But time listens to how you treat it. Time responds to discipline the way soil responds to seed. If you plant nothing in the morning, you should not be surprised when the day grows weeds. The truth is not that you need better goals. The truth is that you need better beginnings. Because every powerful life is built on small, repeatable openings. The morning is where you train your nervous system how to lead instead of react. The morning is where you teach your mind that direction comes before emotion. The morning is where you quietly rehearse the person you want to be when pressure arrives. You cannot command your future if you cannot command your first hour. And I know how gentle the bed feels. I know how persuasive the voice is that says just 5 more minutes. I know how heavy the body can feel before it remembers its own strength. But I also know that the voice that whispers stay is not your protector. It is your past trying to remain familiar. Your future never begs you to stay comfortable. It invites you to move. When you master your mornings, you are not becoming rigid. You are becoming reliable to yourself. And self-reliability is the foundation of confidence, not compliments, not recognition, not validation, reliability. Because every morning you keep your word to yourself, something inside you straightens its back. Something inside you begins to trust you again. You do not need to wake up heroic. You need to wake up obedient to your intention. There is a difference. Heroism is emotional. Obedience is structural. And structure is what holds you steady when emotion changes its mind. Most people wait to feel ready before they rise. Disciplined people rise and allow readiness to catch up. They understand that the body follows movement better than it follows motivation. They understand that clarity does not arrive before action. It is created by action. When you open your eyes in the morning, your brain is soft. It is suggestible. It is forming the tone of your day before you realize it is happening. So whatever you feed it first becomes the dominant frequency of the hours that follow. If you feed it urgency, you become reactive. If you feed it chaos, you become scattered. If you feed it silence, intention, and movement, you become grounded. Your morning is not neutral. It programs you. You either program your day consciously or your environment programs you by default. And default is expensive. Default is how years disappear without direction. You say you want a different future. Then your morning must look different from your past, not occasionally, not when you feel inspired. Every day that matters. You do not need to redesign your entire life. You need to design the first 30 to 90 minutes with ruthless respect. Because the person you are in the morning is the person who decides how much of your potential will be accessed that day. The world does not defeat most people. Their first hour does. The first hour teaches them whether their attention belongs to them or to everyone else. The first hour teaches their body whether it is trained to move or trained to delay. The first hour teaches their mind whether it is meant to lead or meant to follow. And here is the quiet truth. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You sink to the level of your morning habits. You become what you repeatedly do before anyone is watching. So when you wake up and you choose to sit up instead of sink back into comfort, you are not just winning a small battle. You are strengthening a reflex. You are teaching your system that action is the default response. You are teaching yourself that resistance does not get the final vote. That lesson transfers into every other part of your life, into your work, into your relationships, into your health, into your courage, into your ability to stay when something becomes difficult. Most people think success is built by big decisions. It is built by tiny ones made early in the day. The decision to drink water instead of excuses. The decision to move your body instead of moving your thumb. The decision to open a book, a notebook, a plan, a prayer, a page, instead of opening an endless stream of noise. The decision to meet yourself before you meet the world. When you master your mornings, you stop being surprised by your own inconsistency, because you have built a ritual that anchors you before unpredictability begins. And do not misunderstand what ritual means. It does not mean perfection. It means repetition with intention. It means a simple sequence that signals to your mind that you are entering leadership mode, that you are no longer drifting, that you are not available for chaos, that you are not waiting to be pushed into productivity by panic. You are moving on purpose. You train the nervous system to associate early action with safety, with control, with identity. This is why the first movement matters. The first thought matters. The first input matters. If you let the first input of your day be comparison, outrage, urgency, or entertainment, you have already surrendered the tone of your inner world. But if you let the first input be alignment, clarity, effort, and silence, you walk into your responsibilities with a spine instead of anxiety. Your future responds to posture, not just physical posture, mental posture, emotional posture, temporal posture. How you stand inside time. When you begin your day slowly on purpose, you are not being lazy. You are being strategic. You are slowing down to move correctly. You are building accuracy before speed. Because speed without direction is simply exhaustion. And exhaustion makes people quit. Mastering your morning does not mean cramming it full. It means choosing what deserves to shape you before the world tries to shape you for its own convenience. There must be a moment each morning when you ask yourself one honest question. What must be protected today? Not what must be achieved. What must be protected? Your focus, your energy, your attention, your integrity, your momentum, your patience, your boundaries. Because your future will not be destroyed by one bad decision. It will be weakened by daily leaks. And your morning is where you seal the cracks. Most people treat their mornings like a hallway, something to pass through. Disciplined people treat their mornings like a command center, a place where direction is set, a place where the internal weather is stabilized, a place where the mind is reminded who is in charge, and leadership of the self is not glamorous. It is quiet, it is repetitive, it is invisible, it does not look like achievement. It looks like preparation. You will not feel extraordinary when you begin to master your mornings. You will feel ordinary in a way that is finally useful. You will feel steady. You will feel less dramatic. You will feel less reactive. You will feel less dependent on circumstances to decide how you show up. That steadiness becomes magnetic, because when pressure arrives later in the day, your nervous system has already practiced regulation. It has already practiced direction. It has already practiced obedience to intention. You have already told your body, this is how we move when we do not feel like moving. This is how we think when the mind wants to wander. This is how we return when distraction tries to claim us. Most people try to fix their lives at night. They reflect, they regret, they promise, they plan. But by then their willpower is tired, their nervous system is overloaded, their clarity is diluted by everything they have absorbed. Your real power window is in the morning. Before you are influenced, before you are evaluated, before you are pulled apart by competing priorities. The morning is the cleanest psychological surface you will touch all day. That is where discipline is easiest to install. Not because it feels easy, but because the noise is lower, the interference is minimal, the excuses are weaker. And here is something you must hear with honesty. You do not need more time. You need fewer negotiations. Your morning becomes powerful when you stop debating with it. When the alarm is not a suggestion. When your plan is not a preference. When your routine is not optional. You do not wake up and ask how you feel. You wake up and act according to who you decided you are becoming. Emotion catches up later. Your identity must go first. If you struggle to stay consistent in your goals, it is rarely because you lack desire. It is because you have not yet built a reliable opening sequence. Your life begins every day without a clear on-ramp, so you enter your responsibilities at full speed without alignment. That creates friction. That creates overwhelm. That creates emotional fatigue. A mastered morning reduces cognitive load. It eliminates unnecessary decision-making. It tells your brain this is familiar. This is safe. This is what we do. You do not need willpower when you have rhythm. Rhythm carries you when motivation leaves the room, and motivation will always leave the room, because it is not loyal. But rhythm is. Your future is not built by your strongest days. It is built by your most predictable ones. When you become predictable in your self-leadership, life begins to feel more manageable. Not because it becomes easier, but because you become less chaotic inside it. You become harder to destabilize. You become harder to pull off course. You become harder to distract from what matters. This is what it means to quietly command your future. Not through control of circumstances, through consistency of response, through ownership of the first movement of the day, through a disciplined relationship with time. And let me tell you something quietly powerful. When you begin to master your mornings, other people will feel it before they can name it. They will sense your calm. They will sense your readiness. They will sense your stability. They will sense that you are not easily shaken. They will sense that you are not rushing through life begging it to cooperate. You are meeting it with preparation. Prepared people do not panic easily. Prepared people do not waste energy on unnecessary urgency. Prepared people do not confuse activity with progress. They move with intention. The morning teaches you how to enter difficulty without collapsing into it. Because when you train yourself to move early, you train yourself to move through resistance. You train yourself to move through doubt. You train yourself to move through discomfort. And discomfort is the price of growth. You either pay it early in discipline, or you pay it later in regret. The choice is not whether you will experience difficulty. The choice is whether difficulty will shape you or strengthen you. And that choice is made quietly, before sunrise, when nobody is watching and nobody is applauding. When you wake up and you move your body, even gently, you are teaching your nervous system that stagnation is not your identity. When you write, even one paragraph, you are teaching your mind that creation comes before consumption. When you sit in silence, even briefly, you are teaching your emotions that they do not control your attention. When you review your priorities, even imperfectly, you are teaching your future that it matters enough to be prepared for. This is how self-respect is built. Not in speeches, not in affirmations, not in declarations, in behavior, repeated behavior. And if you want to quietly command your future, you must understand something very important. Your future is not impressed by your intentions. It is shaped by your systems. It is sculpted by your mornings. It is molded by what you repeatedly choose before anyone can see you choosing. Do not underestimate the power of a calm, intentional opening to your day. Chaos loves late starts. Confusion loves rushed beginnings. Regret loves unstructured mornings. But clarity loves rhythm, strength loves predictability, confidence loves preparation. You do not become powerful by forcing the entire day into order. You become powerful by claiming the first part of it and letting that order ripple outward. The way you begin tells your nervous system how to respond when pressure rises. It tells your mind whether to search for escape or search for solutions. It tells your body whether to freeze or engage. Your morning is not a productivity tool. It is a leadership practice. You are practicing how to lead yourself. And if you cannot lead yourself in silence, you will struggle to lead yourself in chaos. If you cannot move without applause, you will struggle to move when criticism arrives. If you cannot honor small commitments, you will struggle to carry large responsibilities. Your morning is the training ground for your future capacity. And capacity is what creates opportunity. Not luck, not timing. Capacity, your ability to sustain effort, your ability to regulate emotion, your ability to remain focused under pressure, your ability to return to alignment when distracted. These are trained, not gifted, and they are trained in the quiet hours, in the ordinary rituals, in the invisible repetitions, in the disciplined openings. This is why mastering your morning is not about waking up earlier than everyone else. It is about waking up earlier than your excuses. It is about waking up before your fears begin negotiating. It is about waking up before the noise of the world convinces you that your priorities are unrealistic. It is about waking up into your authority, not the authority to control others, the authority to control your direction. And when you can control your direction consistently, you do not need to chase the future. You quietly position yourself for it. You quietly become ready for it. You quietly grow into it. Because every focused morning compounds. Every aligned beginning compounds. Every disciplined opening compounds. And one day, without a dramatic announcement, without a viral moment, without a sudden transformation story, you will look at your life and realize that your future did not arrive by accident. It arrived because you met it step by step, morning by morning, with intention, with structure, with respect for your time, with loyalty to your word, with devotion to the person you were practicing becoming before the world ever noticed. And you will understand that the quiet discipline you built at the start of your days was never small. It was the foundation of everything you were able to carry, everything you were able to create, everything you were able to protect, everything you were able to become. Because mastery of the morning becomes mastery of attention. Mastery of attention becomes mastery of direction. And mastery of direction becomes the quiet command over the future you once thought required something louder, something bigger, something more dramatic, when in truth it only required you to begin differently, and to begin again tomorrow, and to begin again the next day, and to continue choosing alignment before noise, movement before comfort, clarity before distraction, discipline before delay, and ownership before excuse, until this way of beginning becomes so deeply woven into who you are that you no longer struggle to start. You simply rise and move because this is what your life now recognizes as normal, as safe, as true, as yours.